It's rock and roll.
All right, welcome to the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Julian Gill. I'm back with a quick review, this time of Def Leppard's Drastic Symphonies, which was released on May the 19th. This album's a symphonic treatment of a selection of songs from Def Leppard's catalog. Okay, the overview is that basically a ton of bands have done symphonic offerings or pairings in various formats, either paired with an actual live symphony to different effect. I mean, going back to Deep Purple, paired way back when, and Metallica's done a couple of symphonies, one better than the other substantially. Kiss has done a symphony with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra with multiple acts, electric, acoustic, and then symphonic, or I think the middle one was an ensemble. It was atrocious anyway, whatever it was. Aerosmith's done a really incredible symphonic treatment of Dream On with Michael Kamen. I think that was for the MTV 10th anniversary that one was done. So this one's an interesting spin because it's not a live pairing with a symphony. It's taking some of their master tracks and going back and giving it over to engineers and symphonic arrangement to actually put it all together with some of the embellishments that the band want to do with it. That means muting some elements that were present on the original tracks, re-recording some to make it work better, and masking some of the tracks. If you go to Hysteria, there's a shitload of guitar tracks on there. So it's a whole new creature in that way, in that it's not a remix. It's a complete reinterpretation of some of the, more functionally able to handle that treatment material in the catalog. So it's a really interesting way of approaching a symphonic project. And to a certain degree, Def Leppard's always had some really grandiose compositions going all the way back to 1980. Sorrow's a Woman, maybe Overture a little bit less, because that's, I guess, more of a Freebirdish type thing. But they've always had those elements, Bringing On the Heartbreak, which is on here, Too Late for Love, obviously, and then you get into everything that comes after that when they became less of a hard rock band. Because they were never heavy metal in their own minds, regardless of High and Dry being a definitive outlier in terms of their sonic appeal. So my overall impression of Drastic Symphonies is, it's provided a few interesting listens, but I don't doubt that the whole thing will be filed away and not revisited very often. And that's for a multitude of reasons that I'll get into as I talk about this album track by track and surmise at the end. It's very well constructed. There's no doubt about the amount of attention to detail that's gone into the crafting of this as a standalone product. And it can rightfully stand alone as a Def Leppard album within the body of their catalog. No doubt. It's very well sequenced. It flows quite well. And it's enjoyable in that sense. It's got the new shine right now, the new car smell, so to speak. The carpets are fully clean and there are no footprints on it yet sonically, because it's all very new to the ears. However, that's the key element for me as a listener, is that the classic recipe of all these songs is what is fully ingrained up here when I listen to the material. And it's very hard to separate either a live performance of that material with the studio material and then taking it 180 degrees in some sense by creating this product. So that is the good. The bad, well, it's all very highly subjective, isn't it? It's listening to something We all have our own ears, we all have our own brains, we all have our own taste, blah, blah, blah. But there are a couple of clunkers for me and songs that simply did not work with the treatment. And that's not, honestly, it's not you, it's me. Well, we'll see how many others agree as we go through this song. So let's look at some of the source albums from this. On Through the Night gets a grand total of 0, a donut. Wankers. Um, then again, how much of that stuff really would work reinterpreted in this manner? Is it a matter of multi-track availability? What's the deal? I'd love to hear, and maybe there will be more interviews from the band members talking about why those songs were ignored, maybe why some of the unreleased songs from that era, because there are some pretty epic songs that never made albums in that early phase of the band's existence, and it may come down to previous management. I don't know. I don't care. I'm simply commenting that there is no 1980 song on this album. High and Dry gets 2, but 1.5. It gets a song and a instrumental. We'll talk more about those in turn as well. Pyromania, kind of shocking. It only gets 1 song represented, but then you think back to the rest of the album, how much of that really would work with a symphonic treatment. Die Hard, perhaps, but we'll take Too Late for Love any day of the week, I think. Hysteria, 5. I'll talk more about that when we get there. Adrenalize, shockingly, 1. Vault, 1. Slang, shockingly also, or not, 1. Euphoria, 1. Yay, love Euphoria. Vastly underrated. If I'm going to pimp an album today, well, I'm going to have to pimp 2 because I'm going to say go listen to Slang and Euphoria. Both incredibly underrated in my opinion. Only X gets 0. Well, tic-tac-toe. I guess it's no shocker. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but does the material on 10 or X, whichever way you want to call it, really functionally work for that sort of reinterpretation, or was that all fully embellished at the time enough for it to be a pointless exercise, a waste of effort? Yeah, again, opinions will vary. Again, taking a live symphony versus a small ensemble or electro wizardry, keyboard, synth, and etc., to create the symphonic kind of embellishment in the studio are 2 different things. Spark Lounge gets 1 song. Happy about that. Great album. Mirrorball, obviously one of the 3 bonus tracks, gets a mention on here, and that's always good because again, there will be people who skip that in the broader community, and not everyone's a diehard, so not every person buys every box that Def Leppard puts out or every album that they put out. Shame on them. Def Leppard, self-titled album, was that 2015 or so? Zilch, nil, naught, nanka. Well, again, I don't think there's any point to that one either. All the stuff on that album, as strong as it is all pretty well treated, in my opinion. And Diamond Star Halo's current album, stunningly strong and consistent album, well worth another listen as well as you go through some of these. Gets 2. So there's a little bit of imbalance within that. But again, all of it's going to come down to your taste, what era you prefer, what kind of songs in those eras also that you prefer for the eras that you prefer less. That's a bit of a tongue twister. I haven't even had a beer. All right. So it's no surprise, I guess, with Hysteria providing the bulk of the album. I guess I'm a bit disappointed that it is no surprise that Hysteria provides the bulk of the album. But then again, Hysteria provides the bulk of the album. Go figure. But I think it could have been 1 or 2 less songs from that album, taking songs maybe in a more dangerous direction. There's nothing on this in terms of the arrangements that really goes out on the wing. There's nothing that really goes into any territory that I would say is cutting edge or artistically dangerous or cutting new or breaking new ground artistically with the symphonic treatment. So, some of the albums which songs are lacking, have candidates that already have lush arrangements. I've already said that. So I guess they're missing because those treatments would have offered nothing new. Already said that. So, I guess there's also a possibility, you never know with Def Leppard, that maybe they're saving some material for a volume 2. All right, let's talk about the individual songs because that was a 10-minute preamble that I didn't intend to be that long. So get on with it. Turn to Dust. Awesome. Brilliant. Absolutely marvelous. I think this is a very bold decision to lead off the album with a song from Slang because that will not be in everyone's, kind of pantheon of top Def Leppard songs from which to pick an opening track on your symphonic reinterpretation album. So I like it almost as it's thumbing the nose at Slang's detractors, by leading with it. And the song itself is beautifully positioned and well suited to be treated in this manner. It becomes even more trippy and transcendental. It's a complete winner. I would love to immerse in a 5-1 mix of this in a sonic cocoon. It's really that deep. I want to have my headphones on with it again. I've been listening without them this afternoon. But that's one where you really get a whole lot of different elements that I think the 5-1 treatment could have them really coming in a whole different bunch of directions, as if you're in a symphony hall where with good acoustics, where you get all the reverb and the feel from that performance. So very happy with that as a lead off track. Very happy also with Paper Sun. That's a shocker. I would not have picked that one if I was doing a list of 16 songs for a symphonic treatment by Def Leppard. I don't know if Paper Sun would make that list. I've never done it, so we'll never know. And now it doesn't matter because here it is. So again, I didn't see this one coming. I could have seen Promises or Goodbye, but I'm well truffed because I really love this track. I think it works well. It comes across as a reinvigorated creature. It stands up to the treatment, and it also has a reason to be done and to be presented as here is what may be a new song to a lot of people. They may just be buying this because of the success of the stadium tour. And again, anytime a band gets a rise in its visibility, there will be people who have fallen off the bandwagon who may be catching up and not realize that Def Leppard has kept going for the last 25 years. They didn't end in the 90s or the noughts. They're still out there. They're still vibrant. And if anyone saw them performing at the Lead Mill the other night, they look great. They sound great. They still perform like a complete bunch of madmen. And again, they still rock and roll. So good to get this song out there. Hopefully, it'll make some people dig up Euphoria and go back to that. All right, Animal. That was the first single. It didn't work for me as a single. It doesn't work for me now. I thought it was a terrible choice of a first single. But then again, having heard Turn to Dust, I think they should have thrown that there out as the first single because it really would have been an attention grabber. And plenty of people, I wouldn't be surprised if they would have thought that was a new Def Leppard song. Um, you know, just play with people's minds. Animal doesn't work. It's like we've got to have it on there. But that's one of the songs from Hysteria that I would drop off it. And why doesn't it work? I can't really quantify it. It doesn't work for me in terms of my tastes. I'm going to leave it at that and move on to Pour Some Sugar on Me. No, no, no. They turned a strip club masterpiece into a frickin' turgid lullaby. It's terrible. I do not like this at all. And I'm going to move on forthwith to Hysteria. Okay, voted most inevitable to turn up on a symphonic treatment. This bloody song. I never liked it. Didn't like it in 1987. Didn't like the video. Didn't like the single. Never liked it. Never gonna like it. And this treatment certainly didn't make me like it any more or less. But I'll say this: it does work with the treatment very well. It's all I don't like it, but it's pleasant enough. It just doesn't have. It's a journey on a flat road for me. It doesn't have any valleys or undulations. It really doesn't have anything that resonates with me in parts, a bridge, any guitar parts. It never has. But again, it works very nicely on Drastic Symphony. So I'll move on. Love Bites. I don't hate Hysteria. Don't get me wrong. I love Hysteria. Even though my favorite album is High and Dry, I really do like Hysteria, but I don't need Love Bites with a symphony treatment. No, no. Let's go into a Diamond Star Halo song, Goodbye for Good This Time, and I think this one is excellent. It does something with the original, giving it something special that only a symphony can provide, and a proper symphony at that. It's majestic. So I've gotten through my string of three where I was less pleased and managed to throw a couple of superlatives into the mix for this one. Love. Absolutely love, love. Love is gorgeous. It was gorgeous on Sparkle Lounge. And it's another one of those fuck me moments when I first heard this composition on Sparkle, obviously. But I'm glad they included it here, and they did a very, very good job of it, just like Goodbye for Good. These are two songs in a row, sequenced perfectly. It's a fantastic pairing of these two songs. And while I like when Def Leppard rocks, this side of things is something that they do very, very well. And these are two fantastic examples of when they do it and hit for a six. It's outside the boundaries here. It's absolutely incredible. Americans, you want to call it a home run, whatever. It's a touchdown, home run, grand slam. Gods of War. I was looking forward to this the most when I saw the track listing get published for the album when it was then forthcoming. I love the song. This has always been one of my most meaningful songs for me. So symphony wise, it falls the flattest. It didn't meet my expectations in any way, and ends up feeling like someone has sprayed graffiti on the original sonically. Sonic graffiti. Um, I'm disappointed. It just hasn't lived up to my hopes and expectations. So, again, me. Next up, Angels Can't Help You Now from Diamond Star Halos. And I guess the same applies for this one, which I said for Goodbye for Good and Love. It's already a perfect starting tapestry on which to apply that paint. So it doesn't end up being sonic graffiti, it ends up being a sonic Mona Lisa. And, well, maybe that's a little bit, you know, over the top, but might as well be. They're putting symphony on rock music. Um, there's a reason why an album ought to only have one or two of these types of songs, though, as a matter of keeping it balanced and having different material of different styles and tastes to keep things moving around and changing things up. So at this point in this album, 10 songs in of symphonic retreatments of lighter material in general from the Def Leppard catalog, it's becoming a bit fatiguing. This is an 80-minute album, and yeah, we've still got a bit of long, long way to go. All right, bringing on the heartbreak. Oh, wonderful. Captain Obvious on line 1. They did it in 1984 with synth. And about 40 years later, well, how about turning those synths into symphony? It becomes a bit pompous, or at least precious. So I guess I should just put on the original 1981 version and forget about 84 and 2023, because this one doesn't need any more sugar being poured all over it. Am I mixing my Def Leppard metaphors here? Probably guilty as charged, my lord. Switch 625. Wrong. This is my guitar jam. I reach for my Les Paul on my Epiphone. Operative word being guitar. And more guitars. And as Nigel would say, the amps turned up to 11. No strings, no bumblebees. But I did like the descending symphonic scales throughout this one. It does give it atmosphere, but then the kettle drums take it over the top. Richard Wagner might approve, but Ride of the Valkyries, this is not. So this one feels like filler, almost because it's got to be there because Bringing on the Heartbreak is there, and the two are somewhat symbiotic. 13, Lucky for Some, unlucky for others. Have you ever needed someone so bad? This is the digital and vinyl bonus track. Obviously, I haven't gotten my physical CD, on which this won't be present anyway. So I grabbed the iTunes version to get started. This comes from Adrenalize, obviously. And, this is up there with Hysteria, the song, for me. There's no denying that it's a fantastic song. And it I guess it takes the treatment like a swaying willow caressed by a warm breeze. It works, but it's really not the sort of Def Leppard I want to listen to any day of the week, or maybe only on one day of the week, once a year or decade, something like that. Too Late for Love. Just the one from Pyromania. Again, is if you're going to have something from Pyromania and you don't want to do Die Hard, um, or if you can't do Die Hard, I guess there are professionals who can decide which songs are most likely to succeed as symphonic arrangements or retreatments. This one makes the most sense, and it does work very nicely. So again, good to have at least one Pyromania song. Any pre-'87 song actually. We're just happy. All right, 15. When Love and Hate Collide from The Vault. How many treatments of that have there already been? And was another one really necessary? Always like the acoustic one of that though. But as far as that one goes, it's like, no, I'm just like wanting to get to the end of the album as rapidly as possible. And it ends on a high note. Again, another somewhat obscure song for some people who may have left the building for a while. Kings of the World from Mirrorball. It was one of, I think, three bonus songs or new studio songs released off that album. So, many people may not have gotten that album, may have skipped it. And it's a great ending song. It's an appropriate symphonic bookend to this album. But again, as I said about 20 minutes ago, I'm fatigued with all this symphonic treatment. And all these songs take many of the same approaches symphonically to how they have been seasoned and embellished throughout. So there's a unity of sound and structure that goes through these 15 or 16 songs, depending on the version that you get. You'll get a few more breaks if you get the vinyl, because I think it's a double LP and you're going to flip that fucker 4 times while listening to it, which will provide suitable acoustic breaks from it. So again, a good ending, but I'm glad it's over at this point. And my last listen, I was like, okay, that's enough. I'm done. I don't want to listen to this anymore for a good long while. Um, so what's missing after 80 minutes of it? I don't think I could take any more. In fact, again, I think there could be a couple less songs. Uh, just because you can fit 80 minutes on a release, or what is it on a CD? It's going to be about 75 minutes. It doesn't mean you have to or need to. And I know in this day of value, sometimes you feel that you ought to, so that your punters are receiving, value for money. There's always that perception of more is better. But in this sense, I don't think more is better. Clearly, a lot of attention again has gone into crafting this album, but I'm left pondering its purpose. What is its what is its rationale? What is its target? Is it just to get Def Leppard fans like me who pretty much buy every release to purchase it? What do they want me to get out of it? Because I don't really get the feeling that Def Leppard could do a live symphony at this stage of their career, and that's a guess. Opinions again are going to vary. I don't think they could do this live with a symphony, and I think that's why they're doing this in this manner now. It gives them the opportunity to pair themselves with a orchestra while also justifying it by interpreting some of the songs in the catalog. Was it just a matter of them itching creative in terms of creativity? Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's just as valid again as a live album is. And while it may not bring any new fans, it certainly does provide a new way of listening to the songs. So, job well done. I am entertained. I don't feel in need of demanding a refund. I did not need 6 pints to get through it. And I survived the experience. Let me know what you think of these treatments. If you've only listened to I think it's 2 singles that have been released, chime in with your thoughts on it. If you've listened to the whole album, what are your favorite songs? What are your least favorite songs? And what songs do you think are egregiously missing from Drastic Symphonies? But for now, go off and purchase it if you're interested after this review, and leave me your feedback. That's it for now. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us, like us, or even leave us a review. You can find us and join the conversation on Facebook.